could be the month when everything changes, and I'm going to explain why. But first, I want to talk about some things that are happening in this space right now and how close we are to a much bigger break. I'm not just talking about 100,000 Bitcoin. I'm talking about money worth more than $150.00 just for Bitcoin. And if you think that's only good for Bitcoin, I want you to know that while we're moving to 150K or more, Bitcoin's dominance will drop, causing one of the biggest alt seasons we've ever seen in crypto. First, let me say hello to everyone on the show. If you're new to the channel, you will become a subscriber by the end of this movie. Also, don't forget to join the free Discord that's listed below. There are a lot of great ideas in that Discord. You could also join the paid side to get updates and tips once a week. Every single week I do post 2 reports. Also, if you guys want to check that out, you are more than free to. With that out of the way, let's talk about the green ocean of great gains across the board. This is what the week looks like with a little red here and there. From this point of view, the whole week looks like a sea of green, which is fine. There are more and more old coins riding the Bitcoin wave. The big question now is whether Bitcoin will keep breaking out. At the moment, Bitcoin is worth about $93,000.00. We did make about $94.30 K. It was about $94.50 K if we look at the candles. We're now beginning to have a nice little sale. Everyone is going to freak out now, but this isn't that bad if you zoom out. And this was only a small move so far if we look back at the past month. As it turns out, I did think this would drop from that level, and I'll explain why by showing you a price chart. At this point though, I think everyone is looking at XRP and asking why it's still stuck at about $2.17. Now, I've talked about the overall connection between Bitcoin and its power when it's as high as it is now. Of course, a lot of old coins aren't going to do very well, and that's mostly because, if we look at the old coins that aren't Bitcoin or Ethereum, we can see that they haven't changed much since about the summer of 2023. Now, they did get a nice little jump because they went from about 28.7% in the middle of November to this all the way up to about 33.1% in December. It was that little spike there that made XRP go from less than 50 cents to $3.40 and HBAR go from less than 5 cents to over 30 cents. It seemed like that small change was the most important thing that determined how strong altcoins would be. Imagine if the other people got to 50%. I think they will, that's for sure. In fact, I believe they hit more than 50% this cycle, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Now let's go back in time and look at 2017, 2018, and other years. Those years had 53.1% in 2021. It's about May time they got between 37.2% and 41%. At that point, it went up to about 44.6% in November. Today, there is a lot more. Also, this is November 2022, not November 2021, because if we go back to that month, it was only about 40%. Then at some point here, it was about 41.5%, give or take. But now there are a lot more old coins here. I do believe that we will begin to see some of these things happen. For example, I believe that XRP will become very popular very quickly. I think that XRP could very well push above Ethereum this cycle, so stay away from Bitcoin and Ethereum. That doesn't seem like a crazy idea to me. But I also think that most of the utility-based projects in the space like HBAR, XLM, QNT, Algo, and others will gain a lot as well. So I wouldn't mind if the others got to more than 50% of the market. Another thing we need to do is wait and see, but I think it's safe to say that it will be between 40 and 50% or 35% to 50%, which is still a pretty big jump from where we are now. We did hit about 31.3 to 33.1 degrees though. If that rate went up by another 10%, a lot of these old coins would be worth 5 to 10 times what they are now. On the lower end, at the lower market cap deals, it can go up to 30 to 50 times. When it comes to XRP, things still look pretty good for the price. On this chart, both the lows and highs are higher. We had a small attempt to break out to the upside, but failed when we tried to flip a big support zone. When we flip this level, which is about 220 or 7 cents, I do think that we will range a bit on this once we flip it, hold, and then break to the top. The next target to the upside is right here, right? This amounts to about $2.45 to about $2.00 and 57 or 58 cents. We are mostly looking at this because this is lower time frame trading. That's the next big goal. For this time frame, the highs and lows are higher. Bigger highs are what we want to see. To do this, we need to take out these highs, then these highs, and finally the main high of the cycle so far. If Bitcoin can break out here, we will get there. Now, besides XRP, I've been focusing a lot more on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the most important thing. Now, there are a few things that could definitely cause Bitcoin to take off in a big way. Most of the time when we talk about May, we mean what the Fed is going to do. I believe it all begins with this. So I read a great post on X that was based on a bar chart. I said here that, believe it or not, if history repeats itself, this will be very good for crypto. They posted things that broke US banks. For the first time since March 2023, US banks just made a death cross. We don't know if this will cause banks to fail again or something, but if banks sell off in a big way again here and turn it down, this seems like it would be very strong to me. As I already said, because if we look back to March 2023, banks began to fail on March 10th. This went on all the way through May, and at that time, it was March 10th. Bitcoin hit its lowest point on March 10th. I remember that at that time, everyone told me to wait until Monday was open. Bitcoin is going to lose a lot of value. Guys, that was the Monday candle for Bitcoin. So over that weekend, from the beginning of the bank crash to the end of the Sunday candle, it was about 15%. The price had gone up 26% from the lows by the end of Monday. It kept going up all through 2023 until about the end of April when it started to drop again as summer approached. After that, we began to bounce back in June. After that, we stayed in this broad sideways trend while we waited for something to happen. Do we really believe that this is the only thing that can make Bitcoin jump out? Not at all. As of right now, I believe Bitcoin is moving in a very, very bullish way. A lot of people are saying, oh, Bitcoin is so down. Where do we see that? Because we have made higher lows and higher highs on the lower period so far. The way Bitcoin is set up right now is very strong. There is a fair value gap here between 88.4K and 91.7K. I really hope that we can stay above 90.7K and not hit any of these lower end goals. So these are the lower lows, right? There is the first wick, the lower low, and then the lower low, yes? Going back to this point, we can see the first wick and then a lower low, more low than before. We don't have the higher low over here unless you count this trading trend. The main thing I'm looking at though is the first urgent move here. The first impulse move did not go above the earlier high. In fact, we sold off at first. We're already pretty high up, which if we do sell off, I wouldn't mind, closing the fair value gap and then going up. It's the same thing as this push where we finally break through those highs. We cut a little more and then we keep going even higher. What I'm mostly interested in here is how quickly Bitcoin went up in value. The first move was from the bottom of the November 5th or November 4th candle to the top of the November candle, which is now November 11th candle. This was a gain of 33.73%.